So let's go back and visit this. When I lecture around the world and I talk to chiropractors around the world, I ask them this question: what system is the primary focus of chiropractic? And virtually everyone, but really one chiropractor out of the thousands I've lectured to about this, say the same thing. They say this: it's the nervous system. Well, if that's our primary focus, if the nervous system is our primary area of concern, and that's what we want to deal with, then why are we known as back doctors or spine doctors, or worse than that, bone crunchers and back crackers and Dr. Snap? Because we have focused the attention of the public on the wrong aspect of who we are and what we bring to the table. And it's been our message that's created the problem. My goal with this whole neurologically based chiropractic approach is to get rid of all of that confusion. It's to have us to be able to focus our conversation and our care and our programs for care and our dialogues and our education system with the people on the central nervous system and the effect that chiropractic has on it. So it comes down to really the doctors out there understanding the importance about what we're going to be talking about today. And what if you could prove, using acceptable evidence, and I should underline that because that's the key issue here. It has to be some sort of evidence that's not just accepted by us, because we're willing to accept a whole bunch of things that are less than really required by the rest of the healing arts, but acceptable evidence that the adjustment altered neurological function. What would that be? What would that be worth to you as a doctor in the office? Well, I know what it would be worth to me because I've already been there, and it's incredible because it's the heart being expressed finally the right way. We can actually walk out and say, listen, we have the proof. We know. I know what I bring to this table as a doctor of chiropractic, and we can demonstrate it, and that's incredible. Talk about confidence in a practice. It's phenomenal what that does to a practice. People are looking for leaders out there, and patients around the world are looking for somebody that can be a leader with confidence in what they say and offer them some other alternative than what we're seeing today in medicine and its approach. What would it be worth to your patients? Fantastic. What's going to happen is it's going to open up your practice, because patients are going to start coming in for something other than just back pain or neck pain. They're going to be able to know and see that what's going on in your office would change their life. And we'll show you some of this. What would it do for this profession? Well, my hopes and dreams are that it will bring this profession back into its rightful position and really start to express what it is that we can bring to the table and what chiropractic can do for humanity. And I think it's critical that we stop for a while and just reevaluate where we are without putting up the walls and the barriers, because I'm going to do some challenging today, but I want to ask you to please stay open to what we're talking about here and take a look at the possibilities in the future. And it's going to take a new perspective to be able to do that. So let's take a look. Here's what I see as the profession. I see the majority of these professions are absolutely being strangled by the concepts of vertebral subluxation, which is represented by this noose around this pole, that it stops us from really looking at what's going on with chiropractic. And we seem to have this group out there that just absolutely will not move past this, thinking that they're going to forsake chiropractic. You can see that there's some of them that have moved past the first level, and even some moved past the top level, but there's been a price that they paid to get by this. But we need to remove that noose around chiropractic and this concept that that's only chiropractic. And once we do that, this profession will blossom. Well, here's the noose. The current explanation of subluxation that's currently taught at chiropractic colleges. Subluxation is a complex of functional and/or, and this is where it starts to muddy the waters, structural and/or pathological articular changes. And I want you to look at the order of priority here. So functional, they don't go to explain what that means, but structural, we know what that means. And we're talking now then about articular changes that compromise neural integrity, and then they drop the bombshell which says and may, and what they don't put in here that drives me crazy is and may not. And that's what they need to put in there, because the minute they put and may, it just leaves a big question mark. And the fact is that none of this has been able to be to have been proven on the basis of what we've been chasing down for all these years of vertebral subluxation and nerve root compression as the heart of chiropractic. So this is where this is that noose and why it's in place and why we're being challenged with it. So here's your opportunity. You know, you can view this at this point on as that skeptic on that cat view, going like, yeah, right, here's something that is really not very real. Or you can view it as that child's look of awe and great potential for the beauty of where we're going with this concept. And I hope that you're going to be the child through the rest of this and just look at what the possibilities are. Because if you go back to your office and you go like, yeah, if I can be talking to my patients directly about the central nervous system, what does that do for my dialogue? What does that do for the whole concept of what I bring to the table here? So we're going to start with this. Punjabi said this. Now, 3 systems of the body. There's the passive system. That's the bones and joints. And they do nothing on their own. They provide for points, for structure, attachment points, and potential for movement. That's where the vertebral subluxation as we know it today takes place. That's where the abnormal motion that we have been focused on, whether it's kinesiopathology from the model of Riekman and Felicia, or from the CLA model of dyskinesia that's listed #1 that chiropractors look at as abnormal motion. Well, that happens in the passive system that does nothing on its own. So something had to create that. It wasn't like you drank a bottle of Coke and it knocked the vertebrae out of place. That didn't happen. Something else created that. So what's the system that involves the passive system? Well, it's the active system. That's the next part. And it's the muscles that provide power for motion. Now, as chiropractors and our limited ability to think past the spine, we keep looking at motion from vertebral subluxation movement. We forget that motion from the muscles, from the part of the muscles, controls every system in the body. So not only does something wrong with that system affect how the spine moves, but it affects all the other major things like excretion and respiration and circulation and elimination. I mean, all of those incredible activities that keep us alive are driven by muscle activity. Well, whoa, that means that when we're talking about active systems involvement, we need to look further than the spine. We need to be looking at what's going on everywhere, because dysautonomia affects muscle tone. The autonomic system controls what's going on through there. Well, that means we need to be looking down at the control system, and that's the central nervous system, or the central organizing authority that controls function, defense, recovery, healing, metabolism. You name it, everything is controlled by the control system. That's where the neurological interference takes place. That's where the true dyskinesis is. And if you paid any attention to BJ in his studies, he said the subluxation is in the impulse. The subluxation is within the nervous system. That vertebral subluxation is a result of the abnormal nervous system function. And somehow we forgot that. And somehow we managed to get focused on some other aspect in chiropractic that has put us in that position with all the rest of those penguins standing around. So, by looking at the current explanations of vertebral subluxation and structure as our primary focus, what we've really been looking at is just the shadows of neurological interference. We've been looking at the tertiary response level, not even the secondary. By looking at X-rays on vertebral position, it's a tertiary response. The secondary response is the abnormal muscle tone that created that distortion. We need to look at what's going on in the neurological distortions. So it's sort of like this, and I love this picture. We've been going at it backwards because we've been too blind to see. And we've been so stuck in a rut about what chiropractic is that we refused to turn the microphone around and say, wait a minute, we just have to look at it just from a little different angle.